1996. Roxanne Peck, who has become my wife, had several examples of racial discrimination occurring at the Brandenburg Center. For example, if she wanted a vacation, she had to spin a roulette wheel with the month of the year on it. If the pointer came up on a summer month, she was told she didn't spin the wheel hard enough, or she had to spin the wheel harder. The only month she got was if the wheel stopped on a winter month. She heard several examples where African American patients were called by the N-word, racial slurs. N-word racial slurs were used in her presence. The supervisors ignored her when she tried to complain about it. I told her to take a notebook to work and document everything that was said, date and time, who said it, any witnesses. I sent the result of that to the governor. The governor set up an investigative team from the Department of Personnel to investigate her complaints. We also sent a complaint to the Equal Employment Commission. The same night the Equal Employment Commission received a complaint, they made a telephone call to the director, asked her, "Are you discriminating against Roxanne Peck?" The director said no. Said, "We'll send you a letter and send that back to us in written form." That's the end of the investigation. The director then called an assembly of all the employees, including Roxanne, and said, "Everyone's in danger of losing their jobs. The center is in danger of closing, all because of Roxanne Peck," and pointed to Roxanne. Friends she had for years stopped speaking to her. We start receiving threatening calls to do bodily harm to her and myself, to burn our car, to burn our house. And I told her to just go back to work and mention that the FBI is monitoring our phone calls, and that will stop. She done that, the phone calls stopped. We met with the team of investigators from the Department of Personnel in Hagerstown, and they began their investigation. As a result of that investigation, they determined that it was hostile work environment due to use of racial slurs, racial jokes, racial name calling, and it was unsafe for Roxanne to work there. As the report was being formulated, Roxanne was assaulted by a co-worker. And she came home, we filed criminal charges. Department of Personnel said they feared for her safety and her life and put her on paid administrative leave for 23 days while they completed their investigation. As the end of the investigation, she was given a new job title, mental health associate. Roxanne had continued her education in Baltimore. She wanted to be a nurse, but she had to cut her education short to come back to Cumberland to care for her mother and father. Also, as a result of the investigation, she was transferred to the Finan Center. When she reported to the Finan Center, the administrators refused to give her a new ID badge with her new title. They also wanted her to fill out a new employment application, stressing her educational background. We contacted the investigators from DOP. They contacted the Finan Center and said, "You are required to give her an ID badge with her proper title. She will not fill out any other application." Directly, the Finan Center then asked Roxanne, "If we give you your ID badge, will you wear it under your clothes so it will not upset your white co-workers?" And she refused. And he told her, said, "Finan Center Department of Mental Health and Hygiene will never forget what you've done, and we will never forgive you for what you've done, and we will get even. Those are exact words. And Roxanne had made a claim that we couldn't prove its allegation, as it was told to us. We have no other witnesses. That the Finan Center will never hire a black male on the medical staff to have contact with any white female patients. And as long as they have one black female, they can never be accused of racial discrimination. Her immediate supervisor told her and others that he does not believe the races should be mixed. That's the cause of all of the problems. As Roxanne's working, she was assaulted once in a day room. The supervisor's office opens up to her. The patient was choking her, and she screamed for help. No one would come to help. One of the cleaning crew coming down the hall heard her and came in and pulled the subject off of her. His supervisor said he was busy on his computer, he couldn't hear the screams. A co-worker in the room stated he was filling out reports and he didn't see the commotion. Finally, one day, Roxanne was hit in the head with a metal tray, knocked almost unconscious. She went to the hospital, and the doctor stated, "Who put this bandage on your cuts? That should never have been done. We can't treat it." And Roxanne said, "The medical staff at the Finan Center." Well, after that, her personality changed. She became irritable. She became apprehensive. She's afraid of crowds. If her and I were sitting on our front porch or our deck, if she got up before me, went in the house, she locked all the locks on the door. I had to carry my keys with me at all times. And for over a year, we couldn't figure out what was wrong with her. And finally, our medical doctor suggested a psychiatrist. We went to a psychiatrist, noted psychiatrist in the area, and came up with a diagnosis of post-traumatic stress syndrome. This was caused by repeated blows and injuries to her head that she suffered while at work. We also went for a psychological evaluation with psychoanalysts. They reached the same conclusion. Our medical doctor reached the same conclusion. Our neurologist reached the same conclusion. Post-traumatic stress disorder caused by injuries at work. Finan Center would not accept that, nor would Department of Mental Health and Hygiene. They ordered her to the state medical examiner. She went down. His final report agreed that she's suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder due to injuries at work. After Finan Center received that report, Roxanne received a letter from the Finan Center that stated, "In reference to your employment status with the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene, we have received a letter from the State Medical Director, Dr. Robert Toney, advising us that you are unable to perform your duties of your job classification. Regrettably, based on the medical director's finding, we have no alternative but to terminate your employment. This is to advise you in lieu of termination, you may resign your position by forwarding a letter to that effect to my attention by March the 27th, 2015. We will put you on paid administrative leave until this date. If you are eligible, you may apply for a disability or service retirement." And this is signed by John Collins, acting CEO of the Finan Center. This is an employee who has 25 years of service for the agency that's supposed to protect and promote the mental health of the citizens of Maryland. But one employee, a 25-year employee, who suffers from a mental illness caused by injuries while working for your agency, their solution is to ask her to resign, and when she wouldn't resign, they terminated her. And ironically, approximately 2 weeks after she was terminated, she received a citation from the governor of Maryland for her outstanding service to the state of Maryland. This is an employee that they've just terminated. Also, with that letter, citation, Department of Health and Mental Hygiene sent her a letter of appreciation for her service to the department and her years of service. You may notice on the bottom here that the director of the Finan Center refused to sign this letter, still harassing her even after they terminated her. We thought maybe we were reaching the end of this. We came out to the Finan Center, applied for her retirement, filled out all the forms for her disability, and retirement specialist said this, everything that you need, everything is in order, and sent it to the state retirement board. We waited months with no response from the retirement board. Roxanne called the retirement board, and the person we spoke to said, we thought you had withdrawn your application for retirement because the package we had received from the Finan Center was so full of errors that we sent it back to be corrected. And they never responded with a corrected package. And Roxanne stated her intentions were to retire, and they advised us to come out to the Finan Center retirement office and call them on the phone while we were in that office, and they would go over the forms that were needed, corrections that had to be made, and would be made right then and there. We'd done this. We came out, we went over all the forms for our retirement, all our forms for our disability. Now, she was terminated in March. This is August. We had heard nothing from the disability board. This past Thursday, we called the board and asked what the problem was, why it was taking so long. And the person we spoke to said, first, Department of Health and Mental Hygiene does not believe post-traumatic stress disorder is a disability. And Roxanne stated, even though we have a list of doctors here and the state medical examiner stating this is what I have. And this is August. I applied in March. She said, and the person we spoke to said, well, we're sending you to another doctor. And Roxanne stated, I can't go to another doctor. I can't drive on the highways. Cars coming at me, I panic. And I was on the other line. I said, I recently suffered a seizure, and I can't drive. I'm prohibited by law from driving a motor vehicle. And the person stated, you could take a cab from Cumberland to Hagerstown. And I told my wife, that is enough. I'm going out here and stand on the side of the highway and let people know what is going on at the Finan Center, what is going on with the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene. And that's why I'm here.